46億年ぶりくらいに食べた気がします和菓子。地球誕生から生きてるの？
Nagase confirmed to be besties with Marukami. We opened this week with our usual core trio. I mean, one of them was a little tanner and rarer than usual, but don't be racist. Now, of course, these three were together because they were all second years, while Nagase was a grade year below them. However, that of course didn't stop the embodiment of chaos from tracking them down. Do you pronounce this Zexel or Zeal? Answer wisely. Actually, she was just asking if they could hang out at Kaguri's house, believing that it was only fair after they hung out at hers. Very rightfully though, the Fire Princess pointed out that they only went to her place to help her study, but that just went in one ear and out the other for this space case. With that, they made their way to, okay, that's just the Kazanai residence. Yeah, I think the actual reason the Red Queen became a villainess in the show was because they foreclosed on her house after Fudo was arrested. Anyway, Nagase suggested that they have a barbecue in such a wide open space, which they would actually do in the next episode preview. No, she got it right because she wants to discuss what everyone's favorite Gundam series is. Of course, Nagase also wanted to eventually go to her other Paisens homes. Going to Minamo's would probably be pretty typical, other than the fact that Nagase would definitely be on the same wavelength as her little brother. However, Nachi wasn't just gonna let them into her house so easily. Modern gaming in a nutshell. Well, that, and we finally learned a little bit about why she's been absent from these recent episodes. As it turned out, she was working with Hakase on some sort of project. They didn't clarify what it was, so it could be them further building towards her becoming the sixth ranger of the show, which was even kind of further hinted at later in the episode that we'll get to. But yeah, as a result, she had to take another rain check on hanging out with the princesses this week. With that, the princesses took in the very clashing architecture of Kaguri's abode. Like seriously, this western hallway with all of these paintings is pretty sweet, but why would you put it right next to the koi pond? Just not very feng shui is all I'm saying. Anyway, they then went straight to Kaguri's room. You're just scoping this place out for later, aren't you? Also, yeah, I guess I should be making more comparisons with Honoka Yukishiro, considering Kaguri was a magical girl who was living with her kind old granny with the voice of an iconic Showa character. Also, yes, this was very obviously a Kaguri episode, where we would end up learning a little bit more about the girl, including who her preferred partner was. Shouldn't you start with the miso soup before you move on to dessert? However, Nagase wasn't gonna give up her mermaid waifu without a fight. Yeah, Minamo has quite the bisexual harem going on here. Anyway, later, she also started up a conversation asking what their first experiences in the Owlspear were like. For Minamo, she revealed that she originally went to it with Nachi, and of course was surprised when they were suddenly isekai'd and yet Truck-kun was nowhere to be found. Not much was actually revealed, but it did highlight how Nachi has been a significant part of Minamo's Owlspear experience from the very beginning, and might continue to be a part depending on how this story develops. Meanwhile, Kaguri revealed that it was a little bit more of a significant experience for her, in that it completely changed her life. Yeah, so if they did make it clear with her massive and extravagantly excessive house, her family was loaded. As a result, the other kids around Kaguri treated her a little bit differently. I mean, they didn't bully her or anything, but more just didn't approach her, likely thinking that she viewed them as below her, even though that was not the case at all, as she has always been rather modest and mature for her age, recognizing that her parents were rich and earned their status, and that she should try to earn her own place. So yeah, it is kind of the typical lonely rich girl plot, though it works fine enough here, as it does give a nice characterization to Kaguri. Moreover, it really highlighted the benefits of the Owlspear by being a completely separate world, unbound by social standings, and simply encouraging its guests to express their passions with no limits. Mid also let Kaguri interact with his residents enough that she could build the confidence to interact with kids back on Earth. Though, kind of ironically, by really getting into pursuing her passions and becoming the main diva of this world, Kaguri ended up placing herself on a pedestal that made her kind of unapproachable again, but at least it was a pedestal of her own design and not formed through nepotism, so she could proudly hang her hat on it. Plus, it did lead to her current circle of friends, so really it all worked out, and this was some great character building for the girl. With that, the second half of the episode was mostly just a prolonged fight, which unfortunately didn't get too much build up in this episode, but to be fair, it was also hinted at the end of the last one, so it's no big deal. Well, anyway, initially it seemed like Gita was going to launch a typical attack with pawns of all units, but... Oh crap, he's gonna link summon something big, isn't he? No, actually, he was going to take them on by himself, which out of all of the band, he does seem to be the least suited for battle, which by the end of the episode was still kind of the case. But the main point was to introduce a new and interesting mechanic to the show, as the Queen released his limiters. Oh no, he's going full furry!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Well, actually, he did become a legit threat with not only being able to kick away all three of the princesses at once, but he also achieved speeds that would make Master Gav jealous. In between all of this, Kaguri said that they weren't going to let him win and steal the freedom away from everyone in the Alisphere. This seemed to legit trigger Gita, with him claiming that the princesses were taking away their freedom by preventing them from stealing these girls' energy. Yeah, Kaguri gave the most appropriate response.
Well, gee, when you put it like that, fuck you!
Like, obviously, there was a little more to the Bandersnatch's backstory that I'm sure we'll get later, but right now at least, as Kaguri put it, they were acting as tools of tyranny, trying to enforce their ideals upon this world, so really, they had no reason to give him or his bands room to argue their warped conception of freedom. From there, Kaguri was able to use Hasegawa's shard, which of course was a speed booster, leading to an awesome Flash versus Reverse Flash-esque fight. I also feel like I should play some sort of meme here, though I can't quite put my finger on it. Oh, I know.
Meow?
They also included a pretty smart bit where Minamo and Nagase got involved when given an opening, because why just have your character sit back and watch while their teammate was doing all the work? But yeah, as a result, they managed to defeat Gita, at least for now, because he was a bit more of a fragile speedster. Later, he did say he was going to go off to rehearse and get stronger, whilst tagging in Best likely for next week. With that, the episode ended with us checking in on Nachi, as she had taken an interest in Princess Ripple, and might have noticed something rather familiar about the Water Princess. This is another very solid episode that developed both Kaguri and the ongoing conflict with the Bandersnatch. While not exactly the most unique backstory ever, Kaguri's tale did nicely tie into the show's themes and continued to build up the Alisphere as something that the princesses needed to protect. Meanwhile, the villains got a significant little shakeup that is hinting at some future developments for them, whilst also, more importantly, raising their threat level as the princesses themselves are getting stronger. As I've said previously, I love how the main conflict of the show feels more like a battle of attrition. As one side gets stronger, so does the other, leading to a constant raising of the bar on both sides. Naturally, the heroes will save the day and all that, but not without at least a little pushback. As a result, it not only leads to some much more interesting fights, but also to both sides telling the other GG and constantly developing. In this case, the princesses have been encouraged to master the shards that they've collected so far, as well as learn more about each other to become a stronger team. This week, it was Kaguri's turn, with her revealing how she came to love the Alisphere, and why she's so dedicated to protect it and its values. Her backstory wasn't anything too special, but gave us enough insight into her character, with us also getting some cute interactions with her teammates. Nagase in particular was almost endlessly entertaining with her Yuri-filled antics. As a result, Minamo was a little sidelined this week, but she also had a solo episode last week, so it does balance out. Plus, they are developing some interesting things with her bestie Nachi, seemingly on her way to figure out their secret identities. And overall, this is just a really good episode in terms of developing the heroes and villains alike through some pretty wholesome backstories and awesome speed battles. Kagari had found her personal haven in the Owlspear, and she wasn't going to let these dudes speedrun their way to its destruction. Thanks for watching, and if you're not a 1%er, well, you could save yourself a few bucks by just watching our videos for entertainment. We've got something new coming out almost every day, plus are looking to some new series in the coming seasons. Look forward to Comrade Gav tomorrow, and till then though, for now my friends, and
Beef or chicken?
Corn?
can I just do fish instead?